Hello and welcome to the You Can't Ask That campaign. I'm here with my committee, the Disabilities Committee, and I'm Zoe Hoy, your Disabilities Officer. I'd like to introduce my committee. So first we have Becca.
Yeah, so I am Becca and I am the Secretary for the Disabilities Committee, which means I take notes from all of our meetings.
And then we have Jo.
Hi, I'm Jo. I'm the Invisible Disabilities Lead, so I represent all students that have invisible disabilities and help find support for them.
Then we have Lou.
Hi, I'm Lou. I'm the Physical Disabilities Lead, and I represent the students that have physical disabilities and help to find support for them.
Then we have Georgia.
Hi, I'm Georgia. I'm the Publicity Lead for the Disabilities Campaign, so I handle all our publicity and just find resources.
And next we have Karis.
Hi, I'm Karis. I'm the Wellbeing Lead, so I represent the wellbeing of the students and we work in the campaign to represent that.
And we'd like to welcome you to the You Can't Ask That campaign. First of all, we're going to ask some questions. And these questions are regarding lots of different topics, mainly any issues students have had, things like that, and all around disabilities. So first question I'm going to ask is around sunflower lanyards. So I'm going to ask Jo, our Invisible Disabilities Lead, about sunflower lanyards and what she thinks of them.
Hiya, so conveniently I actually have mine. But sunflower lanyards have been one of the greatest things that have been sort of brought onto campus recently and throughout the country. Obviously with the pandemic, a lot of people have been using them more recently to sort of show they have an invisible disability and they could be exempt from wearing a face mask, which isn't always the case. But being able to have like quite a bright symbol just helps everyone know that sometimes you just need a little bit more help. Like if you're in a big supermarket or something, it's been so useful, and especially on campus, sort of when because I can walk quite slowly sometimes and people can get quite annoyed, but once you sort of see that sign, you're like, oh, okay, never mind, I won't, race you. Yeah, I think they're one of the best things that have been brought in recently.
Lou, do you have an opinion on sunflower lanyards?
I think they're really good as well. Mine's downstairs, but so physical disabilities are not always fully, they're not present all the time, and therefore you can have sort of your disability can change in between being severe to very mild, and this isn't sort of like you wake up and that day it's going to be really mild all day. It can often be, it might start mild and then at like 10:02 you get severe pain running down your leg or something for half an hour before it goes back to mild or something. But it's nice to be able to have this symbol that says, please don't judge me for something that you might not be able to see all of the time, even though it's physical. Sometimes it's not always there, and it's a real way of stopping people from sort of asking questions that are just sometimes sort of like, if you're having a bad day, you just really don't want to be interrupted when you're trying to get from A to B.
Thank you, Lou. So the sunflower lanyards are available at Wellbeing, and you have to show that you need them. But they are not just a pretty lanyard, they are to show that you have either invisible or physical disability and that you may need some extra help or some extra time, things like that. But they're a great initiative, and we are very proud as a committee to have brought them into the university. So for our next question, we're going to go, what is the biggest challenge of university, either face-to-face or online? Does anyone else want to take lead on this? Okay.
So for me, I've often found that the biggest challenge of university is often attendance, but it's sometimes attendance due to issues we can't control. So I can vividly remember wanting to be that student in first year where I'd attend absolutely everything, my attendance would be 100%, and I got to a lift just before my first ever seminar, and I suffered from one of the worst panic attacks I've ever had in my life, because I'd wound myself up so much thinking that I have to be at everything, because obviously that's what you want to do as a student. You want perfect attendance, so your grades will reflect how you've been attending. But sometimes you need to accept that it's okay, that if you miss a couple of things, you can still catch up, because your disability is with you 24/7. And yes, your education is a priority, but you're looking after yourself is a bit more of a priority. So I think the biggest challenge of uni is actually coming to terms that you can do university with your disability. It just might be a bit different to the experience that someone who doesn't have a disability is having, but that's okay because you can work with both.
And it's also okay because you have people like us who are here to help you. And personally, yes, I had a similar sort of experience. My first year of university, I was in a wheelchair, recovering from an operation, didn't really know anyone. We didn't have a disabilities officer at that time, which is why I think it's so important that we have one. And I had didn't know where to go, who to go to for support, which is why I find it so, important that we are here to help students who may be going through something similar to that, and that we let students know that there is someone here to help you, to show you that where to go for support, and that you're not alone. Would anyone else like to speak? Caris?
Going back to that question, for myself as well, when I was a first year student, I was waiting for surgery on my knee, and I had quite bad issues with mobility and pain. So for my circumstances, going to classes every day, and I'm a drama and theatre student, they're very physical classes, especially in the first year. It was excruciatingly painful. And it is the kind of issue of, I want to be there and my attendance is important, and obviously attendance is dependent on how you feel and things like that. But there were some things, where you can't always have a perfect attendance. Sometimes you have to, like Becca said, put yourself first. As long as you obviously inform your lecturers or your school, and you follow the standard procedure of attendance and absence requests. Yeah.
So I know my tutor, who I kept in contact with, and anytime I've had issues, tell them first what's going on, because as long as you keep in contact and keep an email trail and let everyone know what's happening, then they will all understand very well. My tutor has always said that your health comes first. University can be, you have ECs for a reason. You can get extenuating circumstances and extensions. There is a reason for those, and if you need help with those at any point, the Wellbeing and Advice Centre is there for you. But this is why we're here, to help any student in need. So we have those services, and that sort of leads us on to the next question. Has having a disability impacted your personal relationships, friendships, or romantic? Personally, not much. I met my boyfriend now while I was on crutches, still recovering from an operation. I also met my best friend when I put in my module group chat if someone could help wheel me to the lecture, because I got a little bit stuck. And everyone was quite nice about it, and she sat through the lecture with me right at the front, went through with me when I was on this little mobility scooter, and pushing up hills when it wouldn't start, that sort of thing. But so most people are quite nice about it all. So it hasn't really impacted me much. Obviously I didn't get to go out clubbing much, but we're working on some things that may help that. Has anyone else had anything that may have impacted your personal relationships, stuff like that? You?
So I have both physical and invisible, but like my physical disabilities aren't always present, and one of those is my autism, which is very physical a lot of the time, on top of a joint problem, which obviously means that trying to date is a bit of a nightmare when you turn up, you warn people I'm disabled, and then you turn up with a crutch or a cane. And especially as a young person, you turn up with a cane, you tend to see somebody walking the other direction a lot of the time, because you do, whatever happens, tend to look a lot older than you are if you've got a cane, no matter how cool it is. But I met my partner in lockdown, actually. We both work for the NHS, so and she's very understanding because she's a paramedic, which helps. And my housemate, we were both put on the 3rd floor of our accommodation, even though we've both got problems, but we've just made a laugh of it. But I've had some real problems with some friendships, because what people don't understand is that sometimes I won't be able to go out, I won't be able to do things. I will react in, if I have a meltdown, I can react in a really violent way. Like, not as in hitting and punching people, but as in my body reacts in quite a violent way. And they don't understand this, and it does push a lot of people away, especially when you don't talk how they want you to talk, or you don't act how is seen as typical. So that has definitely been a bit of a problem for some people. However, it does mean that the friends and family and relationships that I do now have are the ones that I know will stay, because, you know, they've put up with me through thick and thin, and, you know, if they've been there through your worst, they're going to be there at your best, and that's what you really want. So yeah.
And I think that's something really important to note. We tend to make quite a lot of really close friendships because we know we have to have someone we can trust. Is there anyone else who'd like to take this on? Yeah, Georgia?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to have that support system through your friends, especially if with your condition you're having a flare up or something like that. I think just communicating to people how they can support you and what they can do for you. It doesn't have to be anything big. It can just be a listening ear, or, for example, if you can't get out of bed one day because you're in pain or something like that, they can just come sit with you, or they can message you, and it just helps you to not feel alone. So, like, I know I have a condition where I get really severe dizzy spells. So when we were face to face, sometimes I'd have to message my flatmate and be like, can you come walk me home? Because I'm going to fall over if I walk on my own. And things like that. And just communicating. So telling them what you need. So, like, my housemate has a disability and we kind of know what to do for each other because we've lived together so long. And that's the same for your romantic partner. If you have one, just telling them what they can do for you and how they can support you. It's just a really big help.
And this leads us on to our next question. So, do you think the lack of knowledge and education surrounding disabilities has impacted your university life or life in general? So, personally, it's not for university life for me. I think general university life has been pretty good for me. For me, it's more in life in general. The lack of knowledge and education surrounding disabilities has been quite difficult personally for me. Mainly when you have certain rare conditions that lots of GPs, doctors or hospitals don't tend to know about. And you have to then you know more than the person or medical profession in front of you, and you have to try to explain to the medical profession in front of you that some of what they're saying is normal for you. That's quite difficult. It's also difficult when a person sees you and you are disabled and they just see a young person and they don't see a disabled person. It's very difficult with that because they just see you as young. They don't see you as having an issue, and they can't see past the fact that you're young. And I've had confrontation because of that, which obviously isn't very nice. Has anyone else had sort of a similar experience? Yeah, Caris, Willie, would you like to take a point?
I'll go. For years, since I was probably about, I'd say my problem started at 17, like 16, 17. I went to the doctors my own from that age, and for years I've had to constantly fight my corner. I know obviously like it depends on the GP, because you will always find one that, you know, that listens to you, understands you, but I really do feel like people see age before like disability and like disorders. And yeah, I would say if I had friends or family come up to me and say, oh, I've got this problem, but I'm not sure whether it's a problem, and the doctor won't listen to me, from that experience, I would be like, no, this is what you need to say. You need to be 100% sure what you're saying and things like that. And I myself too have had confrontation quite recently, actually, after having knee surgery. I had a very interesting discussion with the orthopedic surgeon. So it's even with professionals who are highly qualified, it's more the case of you can be viewed as a patient with an issue or a disability and so on, rather than an individual who has these feelings towards what you are experiencing. And I think it's important for people to acknowledge that when you have a disorder, a disability, an impairment, the emotions do come into it, and it can affect you quite significantly, I would say.
Becca or Luke?
No, I completely agree with you, Caris. I've found that doctors, you have to find the right doctor. I think we would all agree on. And I mean, that has definitely been, it's not about a thing of going around until somebody would diagnose your condition. It's about going around until somebody actually listens to you. And I think that is a major thing. But also, I mean, I've had problems where, because of my age, where I've been on a bus before COVID, obviously, and I've been sat in the accessibility seats because my knee has really been playing up. And I've had an older gentleman come up to me, and yes, he might be struggling as well, but there are plenty of other seats on the bus as well. But it's more the fact that I can't do the stairs that day. And I've been screamed at on the bus by an older gentleman or an older woman. I've been screamed at by parents with young children because I'm sat in the accessible seats and things, even though they're not for parents with young children. And I think that's a major thing. But it's also things like in first year, it's going around, it's trying to go over the university bridge and waiting for the lift. And other students don't understand why you walk round them to get to the lift when they're waiting to go up the stairs. And they think that you're line cutting. No, I can't actually stand here in this line for 30 minutes while you wait. And that sort of thing. And it's getting verbal abuse half the time, if that makes any sense. And that makes life really difficult because it doesn't just affect you, it affects your mental well-being as well. But luckily there are a lot of like-minded people about. So for instance, there is we do now have us, and we have our Disabled Committee, not Disabled, Disability Committee, but also like joining other societies with like-minded people has been a real help. And like the Peace of Mind Society is really good for just like breathing and sort of understanding, or there's lots of different societies all over campus that just sort of are all about finding your niche. So for instance, those with hearing loss have got the BSL Society. If you're literally, there's loads, and I mean, I'd be here for an hour if I had.
Becca?
So yeah, I was gonna say more about the university life side of things. I know everyone probably arrives at university thinking you're gonna go to freshers, you're gonna go out, you're gonna drink 7 days a week, you're gonna have such a great time, you're gonna meet the best friends of your life. And in reality, having a disability does not always make that feasible, but it's okay to know that. And actually the university and the SU alike have both been really supportive with this. So obviously the creation of the Disabilities Committee and the whole Disabilities Campaign Network element of it, which you can join as a student. As Lou has said, there is the Peace of Mind Society, which focuses on mental health. There's a BSL Society for those who want to learn sign language or might have a hearing impediment and want to improve on those skills. There's niche societies for every single person. And I think what's really nice to see is the universities and the SU alike are taking initiatives. So there is the Access and Participation Plan, which is currently being created, which students can get involved in with meetings if you fit into any of the categories that they're looking at for this participation and access plan. And there's also other schemes that the Campaigns Network are going to be running, which keep an eye out because there will be stuff released on that soon. But I think it's just getting involved with the SU or getting involved in opportunities on university helps actually create knowledge and education, because by you getting involved, they're going to hear a different viewpoint that they probably haven't heard before. And that's how you start to educate, and that's how people start to build knowledge, because it's actually by speaking to people or being involved in something that people want to learn. So say you're in a society and you say, look, this is what's going on, the committee are more likely to go, how can we adapt our activities to make this accessible for you? And that's how the education side of things grows. But that's been my experience, but I can't speak for everyone.
So it's really important that Becca mentioned path plans and, or as I were previously known, learning support plans, because the next question was going to be, have you been able to secure any support whilst at uni? And an example of that was path plans or learning support plans. And if you don't know about path plans or learning support plans, they're available from Wellbeing. And if you need them, so say if you have a physical disability, invisible disability, anything like that, if you're suffering with mental health, grievances, stuff like that, anything at all really, and you think you may need extra help, then please go to Wellbeing and see if you are entitled to extra support. You can get extra time, you can get you get considered for better ECs, better extensions, that sort of things. It's just a bit easier, makes life a little bit easier. Your teachers will then be able to understand a little bit better why we may struggle to complete assignments on time, that sort of thing. And when we go back onto campus, if you struggle to attend lectures on time because you have a physical disability or an invisible disability and it can impair your walking, then there is a clause in there that says, please be aware that this student may need extra time and may be a little bit late to lectures because of walking. Happen to know that one myself. But yeah, it's very important that you get the support that you need whilst at university. If that be through us, we can point you in the right direction, or through any of the other places such as Advice Centre or through Wellbeing. At the moment we're helping with many different things such as the Access and Participation Plan, which the university is sort of doing, as well as the SU. We're also trying to help with getting better subtitled lectures, because we're trying to get better digital literacy inclusivity, because obviously we know that online now it's very important that everyone is able to access everything. So subtitles are very important. The next question I'm going to ask is around disabled parking, and if anyone has anything to talk around about it. It has been reformed, I believe. I've worked with the university around it. So if anyone has any queries about it, anything they would like to add? No? I will say my little bit then. So with the disabled parking, it went into the accessibility report, something that I worked on last year with the university and the SU around disabled parking, and the fact that there was not much known about it. And it was very confusing for students around when they could park, when they couldn't park, and what they had to do to be able to park in the university's car parks as a disabled student, because not much was known. Generally, if you have a blue badge, you're able to just display the blue badge and park in any car park. If you have to pay a fee, you pay a fee. On the university website, it didn't say much. So through the accessibility plan and report, I've worked with the university to sort of redo this, and it is still ongoing, but we are getting to a place where it's going to be a lot better and easier for students to be able to park on campus if they're disabled and need to do so, which is obviously really good. And I think that may be the end of all our questions. So it's been really nice to talk to everybody and have everybody's opinions and to have this lovely discussion with everybody. And I hope that we've answered some questions and that everyone else has enjoyed this as much as I have. And if you guys have any other questions, feel free to email us or talk to us on social media. And yeah, feel free to ask us any other questions and we will try to obviously respond as much as we can. Thank you very much.